Welcome, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. This is Cecile Edwards of MommyEvolve, and I am talking about healing herbs, intuition, and natural parenting. So, I always knew that I wanted to be in natural parenting or do natural parenting, from a natural birth to ensuring that I use herbs and things like that to heal myself as well as my child or children. And when I started on my own personal journey of healing myself from you know whatever, all of the things that are put on us that we have to then think around and think through. Well, I don't want to say think, feel around, feel through, and get closer to being who we truly are. Herbs and things, it was something that I was drawn to. Herbs, intuition, anything natural, spiritual, and spiritual. And so, I started to blend together various essential oils a few years ago, just because I wanted something. Like, I really wanted to look at the properties of essential oils, what it said to do, the effect it said to have on your brain and your body, and utilize those, create my own mixtures to utilize intuitively, to utilize for myself. And so I started, making products. Initially, it was body butters and things like that. But I wanted to just explain to you some of the essential oils that I use, and then I'll go into some of the other things that I use. So one of my mixes and blends has orange, vanilla, and cinnamon, right? So orange is imperative or important or good for you because, and that blend is called Renew. And the reason why it's called Renew is because, when you smell oranges or grapefruits or any kind of citrus fruit, you immediately get this boost, this uplift, right? So, orange is good for that awareness that orange scent brings to you. It's good for developing your psychic awareness and for healing, because we know that when we're present, we're able to heal. When we're in the present, when we are renewed and revived and awake, we can heal, because we're not thinking about, a bunch of stuff, rerunning programs that are continuously traumatizing us, etc. So bringing ourselves to our awareness helps us to heal. Cinnamon oil, that also it actually removes negativity from you as well, and it relaxes you physically, and it uplifts your mood as well. Right? Cinnamon oil is something that you got to use a little bit of, because cinnamon is very strong. So if you try to put too much in, your water, or I make energy mists. All of these products, by the way, can be found on my website, or you can inbox me or email me and to get those. But energy mists are a huge part of what I use daily. Like, I'll just spray it anywhere in my car. And I started doing this years ago, where I would just put Florida water in a spray bottle. I think they sell them like that now, and you can just spray it wherever. I was sprayed at work, because I worked in some environments that was not conducive to my mental health, unfortunately. Vanilla oil, same thing. It has that calming effect on your brain, your nerves. Your endocrine system is relaxed. You're relaxing. Your body is able to function. Your endocrine system is able to function more powerfully, and you are in it. It optimizes your health, of course. So those are that mixture that I use, and I mix it a certain way, so it comes out with a scent that is, unique. At any rate. And other oils, that's the only one that I'm going to tell you to blend. But other oils that I use are basil. Oh my gosh. The first time I smelled basil oil, first of all, I just like basil in food. But basil oil smells so delicious. Like, everybody needs to smell what basil oil smells like. And basil oil is for it's for healing the heart. It helps with that. So, it helps the energy movement of the heart. It incites compassion and the mending of relationships. And of course, being MommyEvolve, I use that in my blend because we are learning to heal ourselves and heal our mother wounds and have more love and compassion for ourselves as well as others. And so that is why that is used, but it smells so good. And that's one of the oils that I use in another blend that I make. I use a ylang ylang as well. Ylang ylang is very strong. Like, you need 1 drop of that. And that is really good for, it's aphrodisiac. It's aphrodisiac. So it makes you feel good immediately. Like, it just, your serotonin, or I think that's the name of the in your brain, the feel good, the happy hormone. It goes through the roof. That stuff smells good, and it is very strong. So if you drop 1 drop, that 1 drop can be very powerful for just, everything. And smell all day. You drop some in your car or whatever, and you're going to be smelling that all day. Other scents that I use are frankincense and myrrh, of course, for their cleansing properties, because sometimes we just need to release. And rose geranium. See, rose oil, let me tell y'all, rose is the highest vibrating plant known in the world. And it is incites love and compassion. This is why roses are used. Valentine's Day is a symbol for love in our society, and that's not a mistake. It's based on this science. And I don't use the actual rose oil. I don't use just plain rose oil. I use rose geranium. If somebody tells you that they're giving you rose oil, and even if it's a small 1 ounce bottle, a 1 ounce bottle of rose oil costs like $1,000, literally. So mine's is rose geranium. It's mixed with geraniums and rose, but the scent of rose is strong because when you're creating essential oils, the way they create them, the smell is very concentrated, and rose scent is very strong. So you smell the rose in it very strongly. But of course, I use this in my self-love soap. It is very, very potent. In that soap, I've been using it for the past few weeks, actually, to get myself through completing these ebooks and working on some other things, some other projects that I have. Because oftentimes we can be stalled or stopped from completing projects and doing things that we really want to do, because deep down inside, it really comes from a self-worth, a place of self-worth, and what we believe that is possible for us. And so self-love, getting into yourself and loving yourself more deeply, is always, in my opinion, in my understanding, in my process, the way to go when you're trying to do anything. When you feel like you're stuck somewhere, look at how you're loving yourself, or look at the damaging things that you may be saying to yourself in that process. Okay, but it helps to balance. I use another thing that's I like these aphrodisiacs. These things. It's important. Again, self-love, self-care, and self-love go hand in hand. So patchouli is another scent that I use, and patchouli is absolutely powerful in raising vibration as well. And so I use that as well in my processes and practices. And I use a lot of other oils as well. I love jasmine. That's another great high vibration love, inciting and inducing essential oil. There are so many essential oils that are just good for your health. Like oregano oil is really good. If you get the food grade, you can, take that and ingest that, and it helps you to cleanse to help kill parasites in your body. Like if you're sick, if you're ill, you take some oregano oil. So let me tell you about some of the things that I use with my daughter in terms of, my daughter as well as myself and my husband. when it comes to us being ill. I use fire cider, not just when we're ill, it's also to keep our health good. Like, I don't get sick. My daughter doesn't get sick like that. My husband, he used to get sick a lot before we were married. He doesn't get sick like that anymore because I have certain things. So apple cider vinegar, fire cider are two things that we take quite often. I take, we drink fresh juice, particularly orange juice, or we get from actually our farmer's market. They make fresh orange juice. What else? There's so many different things. I'm trying to think. There's one thing in particular that I love, and I haven't had to take it in a while. So I'm like forgetting what it is. But the importance of really, I think that it's very important that we are in tune with our bodies. We understand what is going on in our bodies. And we look for alternative sources. We really find ways to heal ourselves as opposed to suppressing symptoms. And this is with anything. This is physical, emotional, spiritual, right? And I think that's where your intuition comes in, right? Instead of, if you are feeling a pain somewhere, instead of just, saying, oh, there's nothing wrong with going to the doctor, go to the doctor, but also think in yourself or find other ways to discover what else could be going on. Like for me, somebody recommended to me a book called You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. And that book has been very enlightening to me about the way that emotions can affect and be displayed in physical symptoms, right? So for example, oftentimes we think, we have our family has a pattern of diabetes, right? But are there other patterns of something else that your family has that could be affecting the diabetes? So for example, I think in the book it says that diabetes, the cause of diabetes, the spiritual cause or emotional cause is unfulfilled desires or missing out on the sweetness of life, right? And when you look at people who have certain diseases, you can also see certain emotional patterns. When you're overweight, it may be that you're covering up or hiding yourself, right? And I know I personally have that issue, of hiding myself. It's something that I see not only in myself, but in other women in my family. And I'm working through releasing these patterns so that my daughter doesn't have to deal with that. So sometimes you really have to think about other ways and other things other ways to heal yourself and heal your children. And a lot of it, when you're dealing with herbs and such, I think are preventative and intuitive as opposed to reactive. Like there's certain things that I am drawn to. Like I love ginger. I love taking ginger. It was recommended to me some years ago that I should do garlic. And for me, I didn't like it. And my body reacted to it negatively. But I was taking someone else's suggestion as opposed to just sticking to something that, yes, it's fine to try things. But when you see that it doesn't work for you, sometimes you can't be, upset or say that it doesn't work. It just didn't work for you. Sometimes we go into stores or we hear somebody talk about something and we're like, ooh, I want to try that. That sounds really good. And that's probably because it's something that we need to try. Like someone told me to try something called sarsaparilla. And in the moment that it was said, I was like, I just knew that was something I need to try. So I tried it, and baby, I love it. It really works very well for me. You can look up what the properties of sarsaparilla are and how it works, how it can help your body regulate itself. It's good for men and women, actually. for our reproductive system and our endocrine system. And it's functioning and releasing and relieving stress and anxiety and things like that. So really look into that. And it's one thing that I learned is about the bioavailability of plants and animals. I know we always say, oh, we all bleed the same blood, but we all have different biological makeups. That's how we're able to do all these DNA tests and all of that and find out which part of the world we're from. So some people can eat and take certain things, again, and they're fine. And this another person from somewhere else takes something, that same thing, and it don't work for them, right? So, for example, my husband is from West Africa, and he can eat a certain way that if I ate that same way, it wouldn't work for me, right? So you really have to know those kinds of things and really understand how that works. And I know we live in a country where you can get food from all over the world. And so we have that that ability to get different kinds of foods at different times of the year and things like that. But, you know, the bioavailability, how your body interacts with food. So, you know, Japanese people can eat Japanese diet and be perfectly fine. But if I tried to eat a Japanese diet, I don't know. I know we see in the news all the time where people are talking about, oh, the Greek diet. You know, I can't eat the Greek diet. The Greek diet has a lot of dairy, you know, has dairy in it. I can't consume that, you know, maybe without the dairy, but, you know, I guess vegetables is good for most people. But what I know is good for everybody is just not eating so much. I think in general, humans eat too much. But that's another conversation. Natural parenting, that's a very layered conversation because there's all kinds of things that come into play in conversation when you talk about natural parenting. People have certain assumptions about it, that you're neglecting your child or your children, or you just simply don't do certain things if you choose to adhere to their body's needs. Like, you know, people are always, you know, trying to sidestep me and give my daughter like sweets and certain kinds of foods. And I'm like, I'm not trying to control her. I'm just trying to make sure that she doesn't get ill because when she does, who is going to be the person dealing with it? Wow. Not yeah. So, you know, don't let anybody bully you into thinking that you can't or you shouldn't, take care of, or that you shouldn't do what it is that you know is best for your children's well-being, because you know best. You're with them, you know how they function, you know what their needs are. And you have to do what's best from your family's perspective, but you also have to educate yourself as well. And natural parenting to me is basically just you utilizing what you know from your family's background. As I was saying about the, you know, hey, how are ya? You know what? Every time I see you on my timeline, I want some cake. Which is good for you for business, but I'll be like, oh, child. I'm talking about natural parenting, so you can definitely chime in. It would be great for you to chime in because I know that you take a certain approach to the way that you care for your children's health as well. And I was just saying that, you know, I take the approach of ensuring that my daughter gets certain nutrients, but I also make sure that there's preventative stuff, right? Because I know when I was little, we used to have to take a washout, as it was called. So we had to drink some stuff to clean our colon every season to prevent us from getting ill. Okay, and so to me, that's sort of a natural parenting thing because that's not something that your doctors tell you to do. Right? It's not something that your doctors tell you to do. And so for me, it's making sure that my daughter, I have fire cider in my fridge and I'll give her I'll give her some fire cider, just to make sure that her bowels are moving and make sure that she's getting some essential probiotics and things like that. Tiara said that elderberry is very good for prevention. Elderberry syrup is, yes, elderberry syrup is the bomb.com. Okay. And it's not like it's good stuff. And it's stuff you can make. I have elderberries right now in my house. I could just make them, or I could just be like, you know what, just pop these, put them in a smoothie or something like that, because they're very potent. They have a lot of vitamin C and as well as other macronutrients, micronutrients that we need in them. And that's why I love herbs, because they have all these micronutrients, like nettles, stinging nettle for a woman. I said some other herbs earlier, but if you're a woman, particularly a Black woman, because I was talking about bioavailability, and there are certain herbs that are best for people from certain places. Okay. Look, stinging nettle is banging. Okay. It is like, it's magic, literally, for any woman who may be having any, I don't know, anxiety issues, depression, reproductive issues, all of those things. It really helps with your endocrine system and clean. And if you notice, this is a common theme where the endocrine system is what a lot of these herbs that I talk about work on, because our endocrine system, you need to look it up, is very affected by all of the stress that we deal with in our society. And so once that is affected, our hormones get out of whack, and we end up just being thrown off in general in so many different ways. But do the research on that. It's quite profound when you look at it. So most of the herbs that I take works on that, and relieving and releasing and reducing my stress. And I would highly recommend that the same thing is done for the children. Give them small doses of those things as well when they get to an appropriate age for that to be taken. And that's something you would have to talk to an herbalist about. I'm not an herbalist. I'm just talking about my personal experiences and how I've healed myself from extreme anxiety and extreme and depression and things like that, as well as assisted my daughter. Before I go, I have to talk about this aspect of natural parenting. Never underestimate the strength of your energy in healing your child and your children. And I'm saying this because a few years ago, I went through an experience where my daughter was experiencing a lot of stomach aches, and it would just come out of nowhere. There's nothing like she eats a certain way. We eat the same way that we've been eating for years. Is really nothing extraneous, anything that has changed excessively over the years, and it's been similar or the same. And anything that didn't work, I took out of the diet. So dairy was a huge thing. I no longer buy dairy and bring it into the home. So she kept on getting these stomach aches. She would wake up in the night throwing up or having diarrhea, etc. And this is, at a certain point in my healing journey where I feel like I had to step it up. Man, so I had someone come in to do Reiki on her. This is before I was doing Reiki myself. Before I was doing Reiki, I was studying it, but I wasn't confident in the practice yet. So I had someone come in and do Reiki on her and do just an energy assessment in general, because I was like, nothing else is working. And I took her to the doctor. They're like, we can't find nothing. There's nothing there. A lot of missed days of missing work and all of that other stuff when I was working outside the home. They came in and said, there's a self-worth issue, her sacral chakra, is affected. It's a self-worth, self-love issue. And that hit home for me because I know that is something that I struggle with. From not having, same thing, mother working all the time, things like that. This is a primary part of natural parenting is your intuition and your intuitive knowing. And that's the reason why I had somebody come in, because I'm like, there's something else going on. My intuition. After she got that treatment done, things improved drastically. But when it really improved was when I stopped working and I started to stay home. My daughter has not had any stomach issues since then. None. Like, it went away. It doesn't exist anymore. Because we're constantly together. I'm able to give her the attention that she needs. I'm able to be present for her activities that she's in, dance and theater, or her 2 activities in her horse club. She loves horses. She's a very sensitive child. All children are sensitive. But she is very heightened sensitivity. And so, when it comes to natural parenting, there's nothing that trumps your attention and energy that you give them. Okay. Nothing that trumps that, because that will keep you in tune and let you know what it is that's going on with them, so that you can then, once you're suggested certain things, you can try it and monitor it and know what is working, what is best. That is, to me, the core of natural parenting. I know we want to put all these other prescriptions on it, like, oh, if you're not using cloth diapers, or, if your child isn't vegan and all this other stuff. But that's the core of it. If you want to do those other things, that's fine. But the core of it is, are you able to pay attention to your child? Are you able to give them the loving energy that they deserve and desire from you? Nothing trumps that. Nothing. And so you will see that, if you have a well-adjusted, stay-at-home mom that can really give their children attention, a lot of the issues that you may see with other children, may not be there. And I see it all the time. I see it where the children just want attention, but then they end up getting things outside of that attention. See that video that I just posted? Because that story about Angie Stone and her daughter displays that perfectly. But that happens all the time in mother-daughter relationships. And it is a huge part of the mother wound. And that's another conversation we'll have, and that we're actually talking about in the mastermind. So if you're interested in the mastermind, by the way, just DM me. We have our next class coming up this Sunday. And so I would love to get some more folks in there. I will definitely, and I would send you the past recording so that you can listen to the presentation on the mother wound. We have a lot of things coming up. So one of the other things that we have coming up is the trip to Jamaica, Montego Bay, Zoetry in August. We also have, I have a Mother's Day event coming up. That's in New Jersey. So I would love to have you. It's a self-care event, but it's not your typical self-care event. Yes, I'll have people doing self-care, makeup, and things like that. But I'm also going to be talking about these things, about self-care, mind, body, and spirit, and how we are caring for ourselves and our future generations, how we're unraveling generational patterns, how we're living. Okay. So anyway, thank you all for listening. You can find more information on www.mommyevolve.com. You can also email me at MommEvolve, momevolve@gmail.com. You can also contact me via my website and find these products, these natural products that I make, as well as my ebooks and any other information, and find ways to work with me, because I do individual sessions, Reiki, or energy healing, past life readings, etc. So I look forward to speaking with you soon. Peace.